All right. Hi and welcome. This is Ariel Hubbard and I'm Vicki Draper, and we are here to talk about distance healing for you and your pets. And so we've got a great show for you today. And real briefly, if people want to know how to reach you here at the beginning, can you share just a little bit about you? And
Sure. So my name is Ariel Hubbard. I've been doing energy medicine for 32 years, and I also teach professional energy healers. And a great way to find me is arielhubbard.com. That's Ariel Hubbard, like old Mother Hubbard, Hubbard.com. And that's a great way to find me. Vicki, how can people find you?
all right. Yes, I am with Healing Your Animal. So you can go to healingyuranimal.com and find me. And this healing is HEALING, YOURANIMAL. And there's a lot of resources out there. And our past podcasts are out there on my website. You can view them and they're out on YouTube. So if you like what you hear today and you want to hear more, there's how you can go find it.
Awesome. So we're excited today. Today, we're actually going to talk about how we do long distance healing work with animals and people. And we're both excited about it because it does seem sort of mysterious. We have conversations with people either on phone or on Zoom. We talk with them about what's happening. And all of a sudden, these cool things start to happen energetically at a distance. So we thought we'd share a little bit about how that actually happens. Vicki, do you want to get started?
Well, I will. Yes, because people are always asking me, like, Zoom, how does that work with my animal and all of that? So we connect on Zoom. We can connect on phone, and then I have you send a photo. That's how I was been doing it for years before Zoom became an option. And then on Zoom, some animals aren't going to sit still, so you don't have to have the camera on the animal the whole time. I like to at least get a live shot, and then you and I can sit here and talk on Zoom, and I'm connected with your animal the whole time. And how it works is because in physics, energy doesn't know time or space. Right. So I can sit here in the Seattle area and work with clients anywhere. I actually have a client in Peru that I work with, and China and Canada, and then across the US. So I even have local people that we do the Zoom just because it's easier, because you do it in the comfort of your home. And so I'm doing animal communication as well as the healing. And the animal communication, it's like we have radio waves. So I'm tuned into the wave and the signal of the animals. So we're on the same channel. So I get the information from the animals, and that's how that's able to easily happen at a distance. And I equate that to, you don't see electricity, you turn on the light and you see the effects of electricity. And then, so that's what's happening with the healing and with the communication. Is it's happening at a level that we can't physically see, yet we see the impacts of the evidence that it works. Because when I'm working live with an animal, the person, I'm sharing what I'm getting and what's shifting, and the person, the guardian, is looking at their animal. If they're working the first time, they're like, oh my gosh, they're doing this, they're moving, they're stretching as I'm, so they're seeing it live, real time, their animal responding and knowing it's happening. And then I like to equate energy blocks, or how we can feel, and I'd love to hear your take on this. How we can feel is like when we have a magnet. You can feel when they're not going to connect. You can feel that pressure. Well, we don't see it, we feel it. And that's how, as a healer, we're feeling that energy and that out of balance, and then making it flow smoothly. So that's where the optimum health happens. So I'd love to hear your take.
So I also talk about physics whenever I can, but things don't just because we can't, like you said, just because we can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't work. Like we're breathing oxygen, but we can't see it, but we're breathing it. And we would know if we didn't have it. So So every animal and person is made up of energy. Everything in the universe is made up of energy, right? And so and consciousness is made up of energy. So you can extend consciousness to reach out to other beings and connect with their energy. So we have an energy anatomy, we have chakras, we have the auric field, we have the meridians, we have nadis, we have all these different structures that make up the energy anatomy system of human beings and also animals. And basically when there's a congestion, people use the word blockage a lot. That's the lay term that we use a lot. In the clinical circles, we call it congestion. And it's basically flow that's not happening. And basically, whenever that flow is not taking place the way it should be, just like when you're driving down a freeway, when there's traffic, energy gets congested, people get grumpy, they get angry, they get upset, literally because the energy isn't flowing. The intention is they want to get from point A to point B and they're not getting there, but literally there's all this congestion. Things aren't moving the way they're supposed to. It's the same way in this system. Things are supposed to flow, and when they don't flow, we feel a certain way, right? So the thing is, just because we're not physically next to each other doesn't mean we can't connect with each other. So a lot of people do this all the time when they think about each other. People will say, oh, I'm thinking of you. Oh, and like you think of a friend and the next day they call you. It's probably because you were connecting psychically and then they decided to give you a phone call. But there's a connection for sure. So what Vicki and I do is we can connect with the energy through our consciousness. We can read what's happening energetically, and then we can find out where the congestion is, and then we can help open up the congestion, resume normal energy flow, charge the animal or the person, recalibrate, and rebalance their energy flow. And so there are different mechanisms that we use to do this. Some of it is intention. I work with a lot of different ways of working with energy. One of them is Reiki, but I also do my own modality called high self resonance therapy, which is a way of connecting energetically. And Vicki, you have your ways of doing it. But so the thing is, when there's a manifestation of a shift, I call it a breathing release. That's my name. And you told me the animal will stretch, they'll sigh, right? The sighing for human beings is that's how we know. And Vicki, I think you could do this too. I can usually feel a buildup of energy.
Oh yeah.
Right? You can feel a buildup of energy before the release happens. And sometimes the healer is the person who grounds the release, which is why when I train people, I'm always teaching them energy management, because they need to be not just grounded, but grounded, centered, aligned, a bunch of different things, so that when that release happens, sometimes we are the vehicle through which the release passes. I don't know if you experienced that as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, I have to explain to my clients. They may hear me cough, they may hear me yawn, take a deep breath. It's like, it's all, because I'm connected with that energy, and it's all moving through.
Yeah. And so, a nickname for that is a shaman yawn. So, but it's my chiropractor used to do it. But it's when person's releasing, sometimes they don't directly release on their own, or they need help releasing. So sometimes the facilitator will help with the release, either by grounding the energy, by yawning, all kinds of different things. But yawning is very common for practitioners to do when they're working with somebody energetically.
Yeah, we have a visitor.
Oh, look!
It's a Sapphire, and it's rare that she makes a Zoom appearance. So I wanted to honor her, because usually it's my other cat, Spirit, that's on this cover, that's front and center.
Oh, how cute. What a cutie, patootie. Speaking of
energy, he's going to say she loves the energy. When I'm doing self Reiki, or even if I'm doing yoga, I'm like, I was on the mat before we connected here, and I'm doing yoga, and she's rubbing up against me. Like, I'm in downward facing dog, and she's rubbing up against me and nudging her tail, and she's just participating.
That is so funny. What do you think the message is when she's doing that? What is she telling you?
Well, to me, she loves the heart connecting energy. she
Like
resonates with
being in
it. It's
there.
like, I'm there.
When I do in-person work and like I rarely do this, but sometimes when I used to go do out calls, the people's animals would come in the room and
Mhm.
like be in the space, like they under the table, on the person, on the table, especially cats, but some dogs too. They just want to be all up in there with that.
Yeah, they love the energy healing, and they're just like, give it to me.
And every student that I've ever talked to is animals. Every time they switch on their Reiki or they do energy work, the same thing happens. So
Yeah.
it's very common. Yeah. So what are some of the things that have happened with long distance work? Vicki, do you want to share some of the things, or do you want me to?
Oh, well, um, yeah, I'm happy to start. I've
Okay.
got
So
plethora of
many stories.
stories.
So many stories. Yeah.
One that, because your left brain may go, oh, well, behavior, we could see it. They respond to the energy. It's like we're talking about the animals respond so they can shift behavior. But I've also had some really big physical issues shift with
Okay.
animals. So, it's educating that it's not just energy and the energy body, it's the physical body that gets impacted as well.
Yes.
I had Samson, a Cocker Spaniel, was in Calgary, Canada, and I'm in the Seattle area, and we're connecting because Samson had fallen off the bed and gotten paralyzed.
Oh.
And they had been to the vet and he'd been to acupuncture with no noticeable improvement. So the guardian was like, well, I'm willing to see if this works. And so in the healing session, connecting and removing the congestions and really, just giving him a nice balance, I could feel lots of good shifts happening in his body. And they had been, prior to the session, they'd been happy to hold him up to pee because he could not use his hind legs. And so right after the session, I said, well, he will probably need to go, just like with us, it flushes things. They say, but you want to take him out to go potty. Well, they did, and they were astounded because he actually stood on his own.
Wow, that's huge.
And so then with a few more sessions, we got him fully back, fully functional again. And
That's
so,
miraculous. That's awesome.
yeah, so distance healing is real and
Yeah.
very effective.
Yes. I did some work with well, I've done work with people in the hospital on numerous occasions, and one of them, somebody asked me to, he was very sick. I really thought he was not going to make it. I thought he was going to pass on. And she'd asked me to do some distance work for him. And this is a friend of his. And then several other people had also been doing work as well. And he ended up not only surviving, but doing well. I was really surprised. I was thinking he was going to move on. So that was pretty cool. I've done work for people in the hospital many times. Sometimes people have really challenging times when they're in there. And so one person they called a dark night of the soul, and they shifted so dramatically. The person who had asked me to do the work was shocked how much they changed and shifted. It's profound. I mean, you can do some incredible things. You can do pre and post surgery work with energy work. You can speed up recovery, speed up success in the surgical room, and then also help people deal with their emotions around having procedures. That's another thing, because that's an element of it too.
And I've worked a lot with when my animal clients ended up in the emergency vet. And the guardian's just freaked. I'm like, I'm on it, connect in, smooth out the animal, kind of share what's going on. And that's a great teamwork with the veterinary care that they're receiving, that the energy really comes in and helps boost that for optimum healing, like you said, speedy recovery. And
I had a student, a Reiki student, who was in a car accident, and her boyfriend called me, and I went and met them in the emergency room, and her skin was as red as your shirt. She was like bright red and totally having a major adrenal response, and like fast breathing, fast pulse, freaked out, panic attack. I worked, there was a physician there when I walked in. I told him what I was going to do. He came back 10 minutes later and he said, "What did you do to her?" Because her skin resumed normal color, her breathing was normal, everything shifted out of that in acute response and into something closer to normal. He was in shock. He's like, "What did you do?" And it was a 10-minute treatment. So it's pretty amazing, everybody. You could do a lot with this. For those of us who are listening, who are familiar with energy work and long distance healing, it'd be fun if you put in comments wherever we post your experiences with energy work. It'd be cool to hear your experiences as well. And for those of you who've not experienced energy work and would like to, you can reach Vicki at healingyouranimal.com, and that's her portal for everything. If you want a free consultation, if you want to get her books, you see her books over her shoulder. She has a new one coming out.
Yes. Healthy, free, and harmonious. Balancing your pet's chakras.
That's really cool. That's so awesome. And you're teaching people how to balance and clear their own pet chakras, which is fabulous. And then if you can reach her and find all of her resources on her site, including former podcasts that we have done. And also, if you want to do a consult with her, you can book an appointment with her. And then with me, you can read my blog, and you can find me at arielhubbard.com and get lots of information. And you can reach out and text me through the site. So we're excited that you guys are here. But we had another topic we wanted to talk about, is how we team up with clients. Vicki reminded me that, yes, I worked with somebody about a year ago that we had worked on, and recently we've teamed up on a few people and work with them together. And you work with the animals and I work with the people, and we team up, which is pretty cool.
Yes. Because we had a really recent one that the sessions were actually back to back. I was on Zoom and with her, and she was in your office actually, as her daughter was getting support, and then she went into for her healing session. So since energy, how we teamed up then is Ariel and I were talking about the best support, because she was having lots of trouble with her animals, and then she had her own issues that she was wanting to.
We all have issues, right?
Exactly.
Well, it's kind of like what you mentioned on numerous pods before, is the animals pick up on whatever we have going on. They have their own things, and then they pick up on our stuff, right?
Right. They have dual.
Right. So when we team up with people, we're trying to work with not only the original issues that the person or the animal has, but also so they don't get in a feedback loop with each other.
Yeah.
Right. We're trying to prevent that feedback loop from like reoccurring, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And the importance of Ariel and myself being very experienced with energy is I was able to send Ariel a quick energetic update that Ariel could then take into working with the guardian.
Right.
And for just maximum support.
Yes.
For the whole situation.
We've talked about downloads before. So Vicki sent me like an energy packet of what the work she did with her client. And then I was able to send that to my person to help support them for themselves, but also to support the animal. It's pretty cool, huh? Yeah.
And so, it's very common, like Ariel said, our animals, when they're misbehaving, and what we label misbehaving, they're just acting out of their normal behavior, responding to the environment, our environment that we put them in, and expecting them to follow our rules.
That's a really good way to put it. Yes.
Yeah. And so, so if they're peeing or pooping outside the litter box, or they're destroying things, they're not doing it maliciously. That's a message. They're unsettled. They don't know what to do. They need an outlet. And that's where we come in to support calming the people and calming the animals to get the whole family back in harmony, because, that's what the behavior issues are saying.
And it's funny, because the Huna healers would do a very similar thing. They take the entire family when a person's having an issue, they said exactly what you just said. They look at all the people in the family. They look at what they're eating, how they're living, their daily habits, what they're doing with everything. And then they'd work on addressing all of it to help that person come into health and well-being. And so,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's what you just said.
It's really real in each of my books, every one of them, because it's so important. I stress the energy management for the person because
Yes,
that impacts their pets, their animals. And
100%.
and so it's just an important piece to play into the mix.
Right. So sometimes we work long distance with people and animals together, and sometimes it's one of us is in person and the other's long distance. Sometimes that's usually how it works. One of us is usually working at a distance while the other's in person, or we're both long distance and we're working to support. And so we like to team up as much as possible to help get to the root causes of challenges that people have, and then also help basically everybody in the household be happy, the people and the animals.
Yes, because what I'd like to point out is Ariel's and my work, we go to the root. We're not just going to do a surface thing. We're going to the root so we can have lasting transformation.
Yes, exactly. And then sometimes like the animal will need multiple treatments, or sometimes the person will need multiple treatments. And I think you've mentioned like sometimes it starts slowly and then it accelerates. The results will accelerate faster.
Yes, and
Yes.
it can be just like with people, if it's a chronic thing,
Yes.
it's not going to go away overnight.
No.
And so with animals, that can be also, animals do heal and clear quicker than people, because just how they're made up.
They don't have a frontal cortex generating drama. Prefrontal cortex generating drama.
They don't have the ego that replays and keeps things in place if we don't, manage it. And so yeah, that's what's neat about them is they will heal quicker because they don't fight it. They go in the energy and they're like, oh, cool, this is supporting me. I'm taking it in and letting it do its work. And then, right, if it's something that's been going on a long time, it will take a few sessions. It's, and then, because I have a recent one that Ariel's talking about, because she works with the guardian and I work with the animal. And so we're covering all the bases for this family. And so now once we got that layer of really getting through the layers of where it's been happening for a long time, getting down to the core, the results are just happening quicker.
Yes. And sometimes it does just take time to release layers of trauma. So the truism is that, at least for people, maybe not animals, but for people, it's a session for each year that you've had a chronic issue, usually minimum, and sometimes longer than that. So people, sometimes I have to remind people, you need to be patient. Like sometimes it takes things time to unwind. This is physically too, as well as energetically, because the body sometimes stores its own reaction to the experiences that you've had. So it's not just the mind that has emotions, cells have emotions too. And so sometimes the mind might release some of it, but the cells have to let go. And there's a thing called body fear, and that has to be released too. And I think, I don't know if animals have this as well, but sometimes like people expect something to hurt and they have to release that fear of it, that it could hurt, in order to, whatever that thing is, that could be intimacy, that could be, recovering from an injury and then starting to walk again, and then not being afraid that it's going to hurt when you walk. I don't know if animals have that, but people do.
They do. That's why we have to reset their proprioceptors, just like we do for people.
Yes.
Because they can get in the habit of holding their leg up because it was hurting.
Yes.
And then let them know, and then helping let them know that, they can put it down and it doesn't hurt.
Right. And then it just reminding them that it doesn't have to hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if animals get the fear that they may never get better, because
No.
human beings get that. Human beings get that. So sometimes I have to
Yes.
clear that. Sometimes I have to help them clear that. When I do emotional reflexology, which is physical touch, but it's also energy work, I created this modality with a colleague, and there are over 70 emotions that people can have. It's crazy how many different types of emotions people can have. It's complicated. I don't think animals have that many. I
Yeah.
don't think they have that many. Like, like, but it takes time, because you want to again restore that energy flow and keep it in balance, and then help them pull in the energy themselves as well. Animals, as you guys, Vicki mentioned this in passing, but animals have chakras too. And they also have meridians, and they also have reflex areas like people do.
Yeah.
Because we're still all mammals.
Yeah.
I don't know if dinosaurs had them, but mammals have them.
Right.
Open my heart chakra. Just kidding. Can you imagine? That's
It's funny.
I know, right?
So yes, what I'd like to share with people, for the pets people, is my first book, Bridging True Love, Connection, and Healing Between You and Your Animals. It goes a lot into this energy management for you and for your pet, and a whole chapter on calming techniques. So that book really helps with the behavioral issues with calming, and so it's a great resource.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you can get that in Vicki's book. And then if you do those exercises, then you can have that well-being on a consistent basis. That's awesome. I love it.
Yes. And so my central point of connection is healingyouranimal.com. So you can go there to look at the books. You can get them autographed copy from me, or it'll take you to the link for Amazon. So that's why you have one thing to remember to get your needs met.
That's beautiful. Awesome. Well, I'm glad we talked about this today. It's important for people to know, because, with COVID, and it's, you may not be able to physically get to see Vicki in person or me in person, but you can work with us at a distance.
Yes. With the same great results as if we were in person.
Yes.
And then you have the comfort of your home, and you don't have to stress traffic and parking and all of that.
Correct.
So, there are lots of benefits to doing the Zoom or distance healing.
Oh, and the other is that I don't know if you can, but I can record the sessions, and then people can watch them later too. That's another benefit as well. Yeah. Yes, for sure. Okay, well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be here next month, first Thursday of the month, 10 o'clock. We're really excited that you've been here with us today. And any closing thoughts, Vicki? Keep an open mind. Keep it open mind.
That's what I was just going to say. To keep an open mind is that you're frustrated and your animal's behavior may add the stress, but they're not trying to add the stress.
Yes.
And so your reactions of stress is going to increase their stress. So that's the loop you're going to get in.
Yes.
So just breathe, calm, even if you're really upset, because then that helps them settle.
And then contact Vicki or me.
Yes.
And because if they're acting out, there's a reason for that.
Exactly.
And if you don't know what the reason is, you might want to get someone to help you figure it out.
Yes.
Because that's like you said, that's a message. If they're doing those things, they're sending a message, because they can't verbalize it, because they can't talk.
Right.
So they're using their behavior to communicate that something's off. And that's where you can reach out to us, and we can give you some support.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. And remember, everybody, T-Rex arms, open heart chakra, and go, rah.
Yes, it's been fun being with you guys. And we look forward to being here next month.
All right. And have a great day, everybody. Take care.